Recording in progress.
Good evening. I am calling this meeting of the Greenbelt City Council to order. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
Good evening. Ms. Niesel?
Here.
Ms. McKinney?
Here.
Ms. Pompey?
Here.
Ms. Pope?
Here.
Mr. Roberts?
Here.
Ms. Weaver? Here. Mayor
Here.
Jordan?
Here. At this time, please join us in a moment of silent reflection as we think about several residents and others that have passed away since the last Greenbelt Council meeting. June Ann McRoy, Catherine Deutsch Beller, former Greenbelter Ronald Ron Lynn Kobe, and also former Greenbelt police officer Robert Bob Musterman Jr. Let's pause for a moment of silent reflection. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Roberts, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? To the flag of the United States of America, republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Councilmember Niesel, I was wondering, could you recite the Greenbelt Pledge?
I would love to. Would you like to chat for a moment while I pull it up?
Let's see.
So
There you
much.
go.
The strength of Greenbelt is diverse people living together in a spirit of cooperation. We celebrate all people. By sharing together, all are enriched. We strive to be a respectful, welcoming community that is open, accessible, safe, and fair.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. So we do hold these council meetings 2 times a month, except for August and July, on Mondays, in order to set policy and take formal actions. Our meetings are open to the public, except for executive sessions as authorized by state law, so the residents and others can observe our deliberations. We do strive to provide reasonable opportunities for the public to voice opinions on matters being considered, so we'll pause periodically in between agenda items for public comment. During these times, if you wish to make a comment, raise your hand if you're in the room. After being recognized, you can go over to the podium. You need to state your name and where you live in Greenbelt, more or less, or where you live. We need that for the minutes. If you are online, tuned in with Zoom, you can submit a written question using the Q&A tab on the bottom of the screen, or you can submit you can raise your virtual hand, and once again, after being recognized, you'll need to state your name and where you live, more or less. And for the online submissions, we don't take anonymous online submissions. And finally, if you're watching on cable TV or on Facebook or on YouTube, you can send us, and of course, cable TV, you can always send us an email. The email address is questions@greenbeltmd.gov. So the first section of the agenda tonight and always is petitions and requests. It's an opportunity for the public to make a statement or to pose a question to city management. With those questions, we do not respond immediately, but we do log them. The city clerk maintains a log, and we will research them, and through the city manager, will supply a response in a timely fashion. So please, with petitions and requests, limit your remarks to 5 minutes and speak on one topic related to the question under consideration. Well, in this case, there is no question under consideration. One topic, and we please ask that you avoid questioning the motives of others. And in general, let's all be civil in our remarks. So at this time, I'll ask the question, are there any petitions or requests? Any petitions or requests? Yes, please, Mr. Lamont.
Good evening. Thank you. It was probably about 6 weeks ago that I was here and made a petition regarding bicycle parking in Roosevelt Center. And I'm really trying for frequent commenting points now. So I did notice this weekend when I was at the event at the Roosevelt Center, the Green Man, that there were a lot of bikes and there was still very little parking. I just want to keep this alive, the concern alive. I had a conversation with with members of the GHI bicycling committee, and there's a lot of support in that group, obviously, for bicycle parking, for good bicycle parking in the Roosevelt Center. What is good bicycle parking? Well, it was pointed out to me when I commented the last time that there is bicycle parking in front of the Aquatics and Fitness Center. There's bicycle parking in front of GAC, which is below the Roosevelt Center. There's also bicycle parking across the street outside of the tunnel. One of the things about bicycle parking, which is different than automobile parking, is that bicycles are really easy to steal. If you have a bolt cutter or if you have a high-powered saw, you can usually cut through whatever's there. And if you can't cut through the lock, you can cut through the rim of the tire or the rim of the wheel, something like that. So if you have an expensive bike, it's a concern where you park that bicycle. One of the benefits of the point of the place I noted before, which is right outside of the co-op grocery store, is that it's a high traffic area. If somebody's standing there with a pair of bolt cutters, somebody's going to say, why are you removing that bicycle with a pair of bolt cutters? That's not going to happen necessarily in some of the other locations where bicycle racks are. So as a bicycle owner, what I'm looking for in a bicycle parking area is a secure location, heavy traffic, somewhere where either I can see my bicycle, and if I'm doing something in the Roosevelt Center, I can see it from there. If it's at the Aquatic Center, I can't see it there. If it's down below, I can't see it there. So you can't have everything, obviously. So what I look for is either a location that I can see or a location that's in a heavy traffic area. So I realize I brought this up about 6 weeks ago, and I'm bringing it up again, and I do have some verbal support from the bike committee, from GHI. My question is what else should I be doing? Besides bringing it up to City Council, are there any suggestions on how this could get more voice? Yes, Rodney, I'm sorry. Rodney had...
Mr. Roberts or Mr. Samarone?
I'm just wondering, have you, you haven't seen any movement towards putting a rack there at the co-op since you were here the last time? Have you talked to staff at all, or?
No, I have not.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's anything going on or not. It's just been 6 weeks since I brought it up, and I haven't heard anything since then. So.
Shouldn't be really that hard to put in a rack by the co-op.
I think I agree with you. I think since we're a green city, it's desirable to have safe bicycle parking where people need it.
I can tell you that I understand the thing about, an expensive bike, you don't want to get ripped off, but when I had my bike way many years ago, it wasn't that expensive, and I still didn't want to get ripped off.
Exactly.
But back then, there were racks all over the place. There was one right in front of the pool, a big rack. I mean, probably could fit 20 bikes in there.
Yeah.
There were some in the middle of the center, and then there were some by co-op. There were some that were by the bank. They were all over the place. And somewhere we went awry, and they all kind of disappeared.
Well, thank you. Your question is well-founded. Sometimes these things take time, and I know you're not asking for a charging station for your electric bike, are you, Mr. Lamond?
Oh, that would be great. Thank you for offering.
So we've logged the request, and I know staff is working on it. So, thank you so much. Appreciate all that you do and for bringing this up persistently, because it's important. We've been talking. Yeah.
As a short follow-up is there anything else I should be doing?
I know you could submit it in writing also, to the city manager.
Okay.
Couldn't hurt.
Great.
Anything else you should be doing?
We have noted the request, and we're working on it. It's on our list of items. Well, we want to take a more comprehensive approach to identifying the areas that we should have more bicycle parking. So versus treating it as one-off, obviously the easiest thing to do is to treat it as a one-item request and be done with it. But we want to be a bit more intentional about identifying the ideal locations for adding bicycle parking capacity.
I appreciate that. I know we've previously done that, and I believe the GHI Bike Committee actually suggested some locations. We just need to go back and look, and we'll work it out. Right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Just keeping it alive.
Thank you. Les, other petitions and requests, I believe Mr. Orleans And Jet, also, you got something?
New Orleans resident. I refrained last regular meeting from repeating any of the raft of petitions and requests I've been making for many, many months, in some cases more than a year, because I was assured that I would be receiving a written explanation as to the judgment of our city solicitor as to why my concern over council in closed session voting to provide a bonus to our former interim city manager as to its validity from the perspective of our city solicitor, whether I like it or not. But I've yet to receive that. I inquired tonight if it might be available. I've been assured that I will have a copy of a written explanation tonight, and I look forward to it. But I didn't want another meeting going by without my making reference to, again, to the fact that I think council exceeded vastly its authority in appropriating city's residents, taxpayers' money for such a purpose in closed session. I will note that I recognize the budget, which we'll be hearing about shortly and will be adopted soon, should in every year have some money for administration as a set aside in the event it was needed. But the use of that money should always be announced in public session and not in private session. I note the presence very quickly of our community planning director tonight. I've been asking for more than a year when the county's Department of Public Works and Transportation was going to be releasing its transit vision plan, and they've been suggesting each month that it'll be next month. And finally, I'm told that it has been released. In a conversation with Mr. Aponte, it was my suggestion that DPWT make up lots of flyers and put them in all the county's libraries, all the county park and planning community centers, and make them available to municipalities for distribution locally. And I'm hopeful tonight council will allow Ms. Ruby to indicate whether or not she has received a hard copy of that plan and announce flyers announcing as to when they're going to be having their community meetings. I've been assured they will have at least 3 community meetings, and the one for closest to Greenbelt, certainly I'd like to be able to post, or at least see posted. But I'm willing to volunteer to help post it around Greenbelt, because I know there's great interest in that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Let's see, Ms. Rosenthal. Your hand was up first. Ms. Rosenthal, please.
Good evening, Laura Rosenthal, 2 Court Garden Way. First of all, I want to apologize before I start that just to let you know, many of you know that I've been spending a lot of my time downtown protesting a lot of the things happening in our world. So I do recognize that my voice is starting to sound a lot more adamant when I come to these meetings, and many of you saw me at the GHI meeting where I spoke out. So I hope my voice will stay adamant, but not strident. But sometimes when I get passionate, it becomes somewhat strident. Very quickly, just 2 items before the main item is that I did write to Mr. Salmaran and to Terry Ruby today that this is not exactly a Greenbelt item, but our Greenbelt post office, if you're in a wheelchair, you can get into the post office because there's a electric sensor light that opens the door, or you can push the metal plate and you can get in, but you can't get back out because the sensor doesn't work and the plate doesn't work. And even if you ask the employees, they say, yes, it hasn't worked either for 3 months or 3 years. I don't remember. So I was in touch with the Prince George's County Office of Human Rights, and they referred me to a federal office. And so I forwarded all this to Mr. Salmaran and to Mr. Ruby. I didn't know which department, but I'd much rather have the city government follow up than me as a private citizen. So just at some point, I'd like to know if that's something. It doesn't have to be tonight. To just let me know. Do I need to follow up, or can the city take city time to contact the office of whatever office? There's actually a law about accessibility of post offices, so it's just kind of interested. If you're in a wheelchair, you can get into the post office, but you cannot get back out. Second of all is thank you very much. I think we're going to have a recognition of Jewish American Heritage Month, and it's very glad that we're going to have a representative from Mishkan Torah. But just to remind everybody that some people are affiliated Jews, means they are a member of a synagogue, and some are unaffiliated Jews and still very actively involved. So I hope, for example, if you have like a photograph or something of people accepting the proclamation, that you'll be mindful of, making many Jews feel welcome, whether they're affiliated or not. And then finally, and this is something I did speak out before, and I did contact Mr. Salmaran. I just spoke to Mr. George, and so I understand where things lie with this. But we are about to start a public hearing about the budget. But I think it's still really hard for the citizens to follow this process. I had requested at the first public hearing that you all provide us with some kind of like an 8-page document that just summarized like the basic budgets for each department. I tried to print it out myself from the 278-page budgets. And I'd also requested, and Mr. George explained about this, like a 2-pager that would just say what were the key points for each of the 9 budget hearings or whatever, so you'd know what the hot button issues are. So me as a citizen, I could come here, and even if I hadn't gone to any of those work sessions, I would know, oh wow, like this is a really hot issue in the police department or in the rec department. And so I could actually speak to an issue even though I hadn't been to the work session. But the way it is right now, I predict that there's going to be a fairly short budget hearing because not enough people know what's going on in the budget. So it requires the citizen to attend like 9 or 10 work sessions or review them at home on their own. And I just feel that maybe next year if we could make the whole budget process a little bit more accessible to people, that they didn't have to attend so many meetings or read so many documents. So, but I am going to be here for that, and I don't know if I'll have anything to speak out about because I don't think I really know what those hot items are. So yeah, that was it. So thank you very much, and I look forward to a very good meeting.
Well, thank you very much. Several of our residents have talked about the challenges, accessibility challenges with the post office, and I know Mr. Sonarone is following up. It's our senators, federal senators, have some jurisdiction in working with the post offices, and I believe an inquiry has already gone to 1 or 2 of them. Let's see, Mr. Jett. Please. Do you have a presentation? Yeah.
Hello, my name is Guillermo Guerrero, and I live in Greenbelt Lake Village. I'm the president of the Democratic Club of Eleanor Roosevelt Democratic Club. And during our April general meeting, we agreed to donate $200 to the city for the emergency fund.
I just so happen to have the check right here. Do you want to, if you'd like to come up and take a photo with the city manager. This is an envelope.
I see.
Make sure that check's in.
Thank you very much. Mr. Hartman.
Michael Hartman to Court Garden Way. Couple of items. Sorry, it's going to be a couple of items, but I'll use up my 3 minutes. First about Mr. Lamont. Point about the bike rack and Mr. Summeron's response that a study is going to be inclusive, and a study sometimes delay actions, and I think if we're agreed that the co-op location is a good location and probably will be suggested at the end of this study, which no one knows how long it would take, I would recommend you just doing it there first and then do your study because that's something that's definitely needed, definitely a good idea, and definitely should be done before a study of indeterminate length. The second thing is I want to bring to the council's attention a missed opportunity. Our community pledge celebrates all people and is respectful of all people and welcoming. Yet last month was National Arab American Heritage Month, and there was no proclamation for that. And I think that it's very important that we recognize all residents in Greenbelt. And if we're going to be having proclamations, which I totally agree, they're a good idea, but they only last 5 or 6 minutes at the most. And I think it's really important to recognize all members of our community. The last is something I'd like to make a recommendation. Laura and I just came out of the Greenbelt Cinema where they were showing the movie Ain't No Back to a Merry-Go-Round, which is, that is, the title of that movie is based on a Langston Hughes poem, but it's about the protests at Glen Echo Park. It was actually the first organized interracial civil rights protest in U.S. history when 5 black Howard University students worked with the Bannockburn community, which is predominantly Jewish, in protesting the segregationist Glen Echo Park in 1960. And it's a wonderful movie. It's playing until Thursday. I highly recommend seeing it because it's, if we're going to recognize Jewish American Heritage Month, then I think seeing how in the early 1960s, how different communities worked together on common goals and set a framework for future interracial and inter communities, which was also part of why the Americans with Disabilities Act was passed, because all of the disability groups got together, and in 1976, getting the 504 Rehabilitation Act together, because up until then, people would say, well, if I give to this disability group, I have to give to that one. And finally, the disability groups all worked together and got what they wanted and what they needed. So cooperation and working together in a coalition is very important. And this movie highlights the first interracial protest recognized in the United States. So I recommend it highly at the Greenbelt Cinema. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Any other petitions or requests? Well, hearing none, let's move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the consent agenda. Are there any modifications to the consent agenda? And if there are none, could I please have a motion to adopt the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. And likewise, with the agenda, if there are no modifications to the agenda as presented, could I please have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Measure passes. Thank you so much. That's going to bring us up to item number 7, communications, presentations. And we've got several tonight, the first being Memorial Day Poppy presentation. The American Legion Post 136 will hold its commemoration of Memorial Day on May 26th. Officers and members of the American Legion Auxiliary are in attendance at the meeting tonight and will make a presentation in honor of this annual remembrance of those who have died in combat while serving in the armed forces. So Sandy Dutton and Ms. Berg are both here with us. Could you make your way up to the podium? Rusty Berg, you're here also. You don't have to come up. Okay.
They've delegated.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you so much for allowing us to be here tonight. It really means a lot. And I want to recognize the members that are with me. We have our unit president, Elizabeth. We have Dora and Rusty's daughter, Chris. And then Rusty, who is 90 and a half years old. What do you think?
Yeah.
She looks pretty good, doesn't she? So after World War I, the poppy flourished in Europe. Scientists attributed the growth to soils in France and Belgium becoming enriched, this is hard to do, with lime from the rubble left by the war. From the dirt and mud grew a beautiful red poppy. The red poppy came to symbolize the blood shed during battle following the publication of the wartime poem, In Flanders Fields. The poem was written by Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae while serving on the front lines. On September 27, 1920, the poppy became the official flower of the American Legion family to memorialize the soldiers who fought and died in the war. In 1924, and I remember it well, the distribution of poppies became a national program of the American Legion. In the state of Maryland, and I am so proud of this, and we are all very proud of this, our poppies are still handmade by our veterans. The auxiliary compensates our veterans for their work, and it really has a true meaning for them, which makes a difference. All donations received from our poppy distribution are used solely to enhance the lives of veterans. We love and are very proud of supporting our veterans. Each year, Greenbelt Unit observes Poppy Month by placing a flower arrangement in both St. Hugh's Church and Greenridge House. We come and visit you all. We include a bowl of poppies for people to take and wear with pride. We put bowls of poppies in the administrative offices of the schools and throughout our post at Greenbelt, of course. Our traditional poppy ad will be in the Greenbelt News Review later this month, and I hope you'll just take a second to just look at it, because it really means a lot to all of us. We encourage everyone to wear your poppies with pride in honor of all the sacrifices made by our veterans and active duty military. But please don't get them wet. If it's raining tonight when you leave, please, because it'll not be nice. As always, thanks for the city for allowing us to come and join you for Poppy Month. We really appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Hey, where can I get one of those poppies? I'd be willing to make a donation if I could get
Well,
one.
we have some ladies that would like to distribute some poppies. Is that okay?
Yeah,
Okay,
definitely.
thank you.
And on Memorial Day also, there's going to be a program, of course, at the Veterans Memorial here in Greenbelt. And afterwards, at what time will that happen? Of course, the 10th,
It usually happens at 11,
11th hour.
so we'll verify that.
Okay, and afterwards there'll be
We go up to the
a
post
program?
for some
Okay.
goodies, and
Hey, how you
we'll
doing?
have poppies there too.
Good. Buttonholder, thank you so much. Thank you. I'm going to pin this right here because I don't have a buttonhole.
I know, next year I need to plan better and have something that has a buttonhole.
No, and American Legion Post 136 has a highly esteemed place in the state of Maryland. Miss Dutton is a former national president, I believe, of the Legion, the auxiliary, right? Yeah. Is that right? Hard to believe. And of course, former Commander Moore serves on the state committee. Would you ladies like to come back up and we can take a picture? Did we get a picture? Why don't you come back up and we'll take a photograph. Council, if you'd like to stand up. Here. This way.
Out on Friday, right? At the shrimp feast. You have a shrimp feast coming up on Friday?
Friday.
Yes.
Tickets are available for that.
Friday at,
I have them with me.
I think I already have, I already ordered some.
Yeah, good, thank you.
The auxiliary does a phenomenal job.
Oh, me? Oh, sure, of course, yes, absolutely. Ooh.
If I say Poppies, Flanders Field. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for all you do. Really appreciate it. And there is a copy of the poem in Flanders Field that's sitting on the table out as you come in and go out, and it sort of epitomizes the symbolic meaning of the poppy and Memorial Day. Okay, so at this time we're going to move on to the next item, which is Local Government Insurance Trust Legit Grant Award Presentation. Matthew Peter from the Local Government Insurance Trust Legit will present a grant award check in the amount of $4,317 to the Greenbelt Police Department. The grant is going to cover the cost of attending a use of force conference, supporting continuing training and professional development for departmental staff. Yeah, Mr. Peter, welcome. It's so nice to see you here again. I see you at the conferences and whatnot. And it's great to have you here in Greenbelt.
It's a pleasure to be here, Mr. Mayor. It's nice to see you all council members. My name is Matt Peter. I'm the executive director at Legit. In case you don't know, we are the property and liability casual insurance company for the city of Greenbelt. It's my pleasure to be here tonight to present a check in the amount of $4,317.20 to send 3 members of your police department's training team to a national training dedicated to use of force and trying to reduce risk of use of force liability, training on changes in use of force law, and by sending members of the training staff to a training like this, a session like this, they get to come back, share the training with all the other members of the police department to do one of the things that Legit loves to do and try to reduce risk. All right? The things that we like to see more than anything is to support all of our members with whatever programs they want to do when they take a proactive approach to try and enhance the services they provide to their residents while at the same time trying to reduce risk. So I'd like to thank Chief Bowers for his support of his officers and wanting to attend this, and particularly Lieutenant Afkar, who is the one who applied for the grant. So.
Very good. Chief Bowers. I don't know. That's a big check. Look at the size of that check there. Whoa.
I have a different one for that.
Hey, thank you very much. So, Mr. Peter, so that our residents and others will know, Legit, it's an insurance company, but it's a little bit like a cooperative where the various municipalities throughout the state sort of pool their risks together and self-insure.
Oh, yes, sir, absolutely. Unfortunately, in the early to mid-'80s, insurance companies stopped writing for local governments. The Supreme Court made some decisions that made it very difficult to insure you guys. So states across the country, including the state of Maryland, decided, let's pass some legislation to allow local governments to pool together. Thanks to the efforts of the Maryland Municipal League as well as the Maryland Association of Counties, Legit was formed 37 years ago. We are now up to 150 plus municipalities, 16 of Maryland's 26 counties, and a bunch of sponsored entities like humane societies and things like that. So completely Maryland-based, completely Maryland-supported, no members outside. So truly is an example of pooling working really well. So we appreciate your partnership, which has been over 30 years. So we appreciate that.
Yeah, well, it makes it, I mean, if it wasn't for the municipalities and the other entities working together, it would be impossible to really cover some of the liability that comes up from time to time. So we're proud to be members and supporters. Yeah.
One of the things I'll be proud to say is before becoming executive director, I spent a lot of time in the legal department. This is one of the municipalities that we insure that I've never spent a lot of time in. So, I always
We want to keep it that way, too. Thank you so much.
Some others that I'm a frequent flyer in parking space, but you guys, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much for all that you do, especially you, Chief. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next up, item number 7C, Mental Health Awareness Month. I've got a proclamation declaring May as Mental Health Awareness Month. And tonight, Serena Eckwood, who is the board president of the National Alliance on Mental Illness in Prince George's County, is here to accept the proclamation. Ms. Eckwood, would you come forward, please? Welcome. It's so nice to see you. Here we go. Whereas mental health is essential to overall well-being and quality of life and affects how individuals think, feel, act, handle stress, and relate to others. And whereas 1 in 5 adults in the United States experience a mental health condition each year, and many do so in silence due to stigma and lack of access to appropriate resources. And whereas early identification and treatment can make a profound difference in the successful management of mental health conditions and in the overall outcome for individuals, families, and communities. And whereas raising awareness and understanding of mental health issues can reduce stigma, promote open dialogue, and empower individuals to seek help without fear of judgment or discrimination. And whereas the City of Greenbelt is committed to supporting mental health initiatives, promoting emotional well-being, and ensuring access to mental health services for all residents. And whereas Mental Health Awareness Month provides an opportunity for individuals, organizations, and communities to unite in support of mental health education, advocacy, and outreach programs. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Emmett V. Jordan, by the authority vested in me by the residents and City Council of Greenbelt, do hereby proclaim May 2025 as Mental Health Awareness Month in the City of Greenbelt, and encourage all residents to take meaningful action towards protecting their mental health, supporting those who struggle with mental health challenges, and building a compassionate community that fosters resilience, understanding, and wellness for all. I'd like to present this to you. Yeah, we got a camera or something?
Oh, yes.
Want to hold on to that? Thank you so much. If you'd like to step over to the podium for a moment. So NAMI Prince George's is an organization that's well known in the county. You have a presence often in Greenbelt. We see you at a lot of community events, Beltway Plaza and around the area, around the county. So I invited you. Can you speak a little bit about just Mental Health Awareness Month and just some of the general programs that you advocate for?
Yes, thank you. Again, Serena Eckwood for NAMI Prince George's County. NAMI Prince George's County is a grassroots organization built on volunteers mainly. We have been in existence for over 30 years. We provide advocacy, outreach, education, and support. All of our programming is free. I would invite you all to our website at namipgc.org for all of the upcoming events that we do have. Everything, like I said, is free, and most of our events are supported by volunteers, educational classes, webinars, and other things, and we provide free training to all. So I invite you all to check out our website for future events.
Hey, thank you so much. Thank you. Now, I know often, very frequently, when there's a resource program at Beltway Plaza Mall, NAMI is there. And we actually have something coming up. Is it this weekend?
This weekend, yes. We have the job fair.
Huh?
And I'm planning
But
to
it's a resource fair as well. So, I mean, so many individuals in the city and throughout the county are, just grappling with the situation with jobs and transitions. So do you know if NAMI is going to be there?
I'm not sure we're going to be there because May is a very busy month for us, but we can surely provide some resources if I can get a point of contact, and we can provide some of our printed material and information that we do have available. We will be in the county, other areas this weekend for a behavioral health expo, and I believe that'll be in Fort Washington. So we're pretty booked this month, but we can surely get you some resources so you can give those out.
Love to have them. Thank you so much. And, it's Mental Health Awareness Month, so I know we've got a number of things going on in Greenbelt with Greenbelt Cares. In actually June the 7th, there's a Not for Seniors Only program dealing with talking about mental health awareness. I believe there's a movie screening May 29th at the Greenbelt Cinema called Untold Secrets. It's local film producers doing a film, and he's going to donate some of the proceeds to Greenbelt Cares. So the police, our social service organizations, the recreation department, we're all in, just in terms of heightening awareness and providing information around mental health issues. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you for inviting us.
Any comments from council?
Just thank you for being here.
I was going to say, I believe our police department is actually doing a walk this weekend.
That's right. Oh, yeah. Mhm. I looked over and the city manager was doing like, I thought he was running.
It's a wellness walk, but
Wellness
they do
walk.
have a focus on
Right.
mental health as part of that, though.
And that's at 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock. The event starts at 8, but
At
the,
8?
the walk's expected at 9.
Okay, and that's in Buddy Attic Park
Buddy Attic Park, right, on Saturday.
on Saturday. Definitely.
Yes, and we have been invited to that as well. And we do have one of our board members who is available to attend that and provide some information and resources. So yes, we have been invited to that. Like I said, May is a very busy month for us. So thanks again.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much. Appreciate all that you
Thank
do.
you.
Thank you.
For the wellness walk, there's a little bit of for everyone at the wellness walk. You can walk, you can jog it, you can run it. I believe the police department's going to have a team there running laps. I might be inspired to join them.
Yeah.
Chief's like, no, not me.
Is Chief Bowers going to run? Okay.
I believe council will have a team there taking a leisurely stroll, so if anyone wants to take part in that.
Relay
Sounds
or
like my
something.
speed.
Pass
Join
the
us
ba-
for that.
Pass the baton. Yeah. Okay, and finally, there's one additional proclamation, and it is Jewish American Heritage Month in the city of Greenbelt and throughout the nation. So I've got a proclamation declaring May as Jewish American Heritage Month. So we've got community members and also Karen Nee from Mishka Torah Synagogue here to accept the proclamation. So could everybody who's here, anybody who's here, please come up to accept the proclamation? There you go. So come on up. How you doing? Yeah, over here. Hi, nice to see you. Let's face this way. Where are you going to look over? So, whereas Jewish American Heritage Month is a time to recognize and celebrate the profound contributions of Jewish Americans to the cultural, economic, scientific, and civil life of our nation, and whereas for generations Jewish Americans have enriched our communities and played a vital role in shaping American experience, standing resolutely for justice, advancing civil rights, and promoting education, compassion, and service to others. And whereas the Jewish community in the United States has persevered in the face of discrimination, anti-Semitism, and hardship, continuing to thrive while preserving cherished traditions of faith, family, and community. And whereas this month provides an opportunity to honor the remarkable achievements of Jewish Americans in every field of endeavor, from the arts and sciences to business and public service, and also to reaffirm commitment to confronting hatred and fostering mutual respect and understanding. And whereas the City of Greenbelt Community Pledge proclaims the strength of Greenbelt as diverse people living together in a spirit of cooperation, we celebrate all people by sharing together. We are all enriched. We strive to be a respectful, welcoming community that is open, accessible, safe, and fair. Now, therefore, be it resolved, I, Emmett V. Jordan, by the authority vested in me by the residents and City Council of Greenbelt, do hereby proclaim May Jewish American Heritage Month in the City of Greenbelt and call upon all residents to learn more about the rich history, culture, and contributions of Jewish Americans and to celebrate the enduring values of freedom, justice, and equality that strengthen our community collectively. Yeah. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. And if you'd like to take a photograph, council, if you'd like to stand up as well, please do. Congratulations. Yeah, and I'd like to invite any of you that like to, if you have a program coming up or if you'd like to say a few words, you're welcome to. I should go to the microphone there.
We do.
Okay, well, thank you so much to the Greenbelt City Council for recognizing Jewish American Heritage Month and inviting us here. I'm joined also by Dan Lowry, who is another member of our board at Mishkan Torah. We're so grateful for the support of the Greenbelt community. I know these have been rough times the past year or so, but we really value Greenbelt's commitment to diversity and to supporting the local Jewish community here. I did want to remind everyone we have a great event going on next Sunday, May 18th, celebrating the holiday of Lag BaOmer, which is kind of like a getting outdoors, having a campfire picnic kind of holiday. Everyone is welcome. It's from 11 to 1:30 at Mishkan Torah, and you may see postcards around, like in the community center or the co-op. I've been trying to distribute them.
That's on a
Thank
Sunday?
you.
Is that coming up on Sunday?
On Sunday, yes.
Okay, at Buddy
Yeah.
Attic Park.
I don't know, at
Mishkan Torah, sorry,
Torah,
sorry.
11, from 11 to 1:30, right?
Dan Lowry, Greenbelt East. And I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you to Greenbelt because we are celebrating our 70th year since the dedication of our building. And Mishkan Torah, the building, would not be here if not were for the non-Jewish members of Greenbelt, particularly members of St. Hugh's, helping us build our structure. So it's clearly a community building, and we're so happy to be in Greenbelt.
Thank you, Mr. Lowry. Appreciate it. Ms. Rosenthal?
Yeah, Laura Rosenthal, 2 Court Garden Way. You know, just hearing the Greenbelt Pledge does remind me that when Greenbelt was founded in, 1937? Right, so African Americans were not allowed to live here, but Jews were, and that was actually very amazing because, there were restricted covenants. My sister lives in Roland Park in Baltimore, and when I was growing up, everybody knew if you were black or you were Jewish or you were from several other groups, you could not move to Roland Park. And I was just looking it up here that the community was implemented with restricted covenants, racial and religious, effectively barring African Americans, Jewish people, and other groups from owning or living in the community. So I think we have to recognize that there have been many groups throughout history and since the founding of Greenbelt where Jews, like African Americans, were not welcome. So it's wonderful to know that even from our beginnings, that Jewish people were welcomed, and I think Mishkan Torah was probably started right away, or I don't know exactly the history, but so our pledge is actually very meaningful to Jewish people, knowing that at least we were welcome. It would have been nice if African Americans had been welcome at that time, but thank goodness life has changed, and we now have our Greenbelt Pledge.
Yeah, thank you for those points. It's important to remember these covenants and whatnot were common. They were the practice in the private sector. So when the federal government, in building this community, made the decision to tolerate religious diversity, that was a big step. So at this time, we need to move on to the rest of the agenda. And the next item, yes, I know, but this is presentations, and I'm just going to go on to the next item on the agenda, which is administrative reports. Oh, public hearing. I'm sorry, I'm looking at this. So this is a public hearing on the 2026 proposed budget. On March 24th, 2025, the city manager presented the proposed budget for fiscal year 2026 to the city council. Since then, council has held 7 work sessions to review the budget. The proposed budget is available online at greenbeltmd.gov, including agenda, materials, and recordings of the budget work session. The budget, and I might add, these recordings are also available on YouTube. You can watch any of those budget review sessions on YouTube. The budget is scheduled to be adopted at the regular city council meeting on June 2nd, 2025. The city code requires that a public hearing be held on the budget prior to its adoption. So tonight's public hearing is the last scheduled hearing before the budget adoption on June the 2nd. So at this time, I'm going to call this public hearing to order with the bang of the gavel. And at this time, are there any comments on the budget? Do you have a comment on the budget, sir?
Thank you. I had comment on something else, but since I'm not recognized for that purpose, and Chief Bowser has left, I'll leave it alone. Excuse me, thank you. It has been asked at the first public hearing, and it had been asked at several meetings, several work sessions on the budget, and it has been asked actually for years that as the budget work session process unfolds, certain clarifications or corrections are made, but it's been quite a while since the departure of Mr. David Moran as our assistant city manager. For the last several years, there's been no attempt to, from meeting to meeting, gather the adjustments, corrections, clarifications from previous work sessions together and have them on the table so that maybe interested people could come to the second public hearing and make more relevant comments. I really regret that our city council chooses not to direct city management to do this. It would be very helpful to residents and people. I certainly endorse the suggestion made by Ms. Rosenthal. Many years ago, it was suggested that a synopsis of the budget could appear in the news review. Not that everybody would get the news review, and not that everybody who got it would necessarily read it, but it would be there potentially for people to have a better understanding of what's proposed for the budget. Specifically on the budget, last Wednesday night, the Greenridge House budget work session took place in Greenridge House. It was pointed out to council again this year that there's an anomaly in our budget from year to year. This year, we've all been told we're very constrained. We've been constrained in the past, but maybe we're more so constrained this year. And it strikes me as silly and odd and self-defeating that since the city of Greenbelt, its residents, taxpayers, pay all the expenses, all the salaries of the employees of the contractor, and all the expenses relative to the contractor managing Greenridge House, that in addition to all that money that Greenbelt resident taxpayers pay, we pay to the contractor, the vendor, the manager, in excess of $80,000 a year for management fees. And I simply don't, in a time of constrained budget, when the city manager nor the city treasurer can propose to council some good things we could do with that in excess of $80,000, because we have to continue to pay, and we don't have to. And at some point between now and the adoption of the budget, I would like council to have a discussion as to whether or not it's relevant for the city to continue to have a contract with CRC to manage Greenridge House when the city of Greenbelt could do a very fine job on its own, and we'd save $80,000.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Rosenthal.
Laura Rosenthal, 2 Court Garden Way. Kind of a question for a civics lesson, and maybe you can't give it to me, but from what I remember, either before or after you adopt a budget, there's going to be like a slush fund or something that you all, if you have like extra money, you're able to reallocate it, or vice versa. When you find out that there's not enough money, you're going to like do a little chipping away, or is none of that going to happen? Because I do remember in previous years, people would like nominate their favorite, like let's put $5,000 extra here, here, here. So everybody's shaking their head. That doesn't happen
this
anymore.
year.
Not this
It
year.
was the wish list, remember?
Right, the wish list. So
Yeah.
there's no wish list, but is there a chopping block list of
Well,
like
there-
that you're going to prioritize if you don't get the amount of money that you're anticipated? That there's going to be things that are kind of like, yeah, on the chopping block. Is that possible?
This is a public hearing, but, you know, the process is such that if council makes adjustments and there are additional funds available, you know, we are, you know, empowered. We're charged with approving the final budget. So the decisions that we make, if there are additional funds available, we have some flexibility. I suspect there's not going to be a lot of discretionary funding this year.
And
it's not so much discretionary, and I cringed a little bit when you said slush fund. We really take this very seriously, but if there's something that a couple of council members or collectively we feel is a priority and it's not in the city manager's proposal, then we adjust it. And I really shouldn't be talking, because this is a public hearing. Yeah.
No, I mean, it's with anything else. I mean, if you have a budget for your household, right, and say many people have lost their job, right? So they're going to have to be cuts made.
Right, exactly.
And sometimes there's a really tough decisions that you have to make. And of course, we're tasked with the tax dollars that our residents pay to the city, and we're in the same boat. And especially this year, I think the budget is well, it doesn't look as good as previous years. So this may be a year where we have to, tighten our belts a little bit more and just get through this time, and better days will come.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And I can't speak exactly to Mr. Orlean's item, but yesterday, actually, for the first time, I was on the website for Greenridge House, only to find out that there is some kind of volunteer or some kind of service coordinator that works for the city, but it looks like that job is vacant right now. But I'm very interested in learning a little bit more about Greenridge House, how much the city does and how much this management company does, and who you contact if you're looking to help volunteer there or become the person that cleans or helps with decluttering or whatever. It was very unclear how much the city, cares or Gale department was doing. So I'm not looking for an answer now. And I guess the only thing I would like to say that I hope isn't on the chopping block is whatever amount of money that's being allocated for this composting thing, which I think is now its own line item, or I don't quite understand how it's all working. I know it has something to do with the trash and recycling, but I hope that even if times get tight, that you'll keep going with this composting experiment that's going on here in Greenbelt. The other areas, I wish I knew more about what had gone on with all the work sessions, but I don't, so I can't comment on any of the others.
Thank you so much. Are there any other comments from the public about the budget this year? Well, hearing none, I'll bring the hearing to a close. Some good points were brought up, and I'm actually under administrative reports. I was planning on asking the city manager about getting the updates to the budget posted here as soon as possible. So, Mr. Samarone, how are you?
I'm doing great, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, council. Good evening, residents. I want to start off with something you're going to hear later on tonight, which is our EV plan. We have installed the EV charging stations at the police department that would primarily serve the parking enforcement vehicle. So we're continuing to push for the implementation of the EV strategies and initiatives that council has directed us to. We continue our conversation on the streetlight matter. We had a 5 cities meeting. We met with Hyattsville and the 4 Cities Coalition to plan around the street lights acquisition and conversions. This was triggered by a series of communications from PEPCO that the net book value numbers have been finalized, so we're actively working towards the acquisition and the purchase estimate documents. So the process is moving rather slowly, but it is moving. No resolution on the State Highway Administration streetlights. That has put a bit of a challenge in front of us, and that is that the resuming of the bills under the calendar year 2024 rate. So we continue to pay for the streetlights because that's obviously an expense we've had, but we've been paying it under the former rate and not the new rate and the negotiated inventory that we agreed to. So we'll go back and forth with PEPCO, making sure that we're keeping a proper accounting of what lights we should be paying, because currently we are overpaying for our lights. So I'm keeping track of that, and once the inventory is finalized and we have final agreement with HSA with the streetlights, we'll reconcile what we've been paying for since we accepted the inventory, which was back in October. So more to come on the streetlights. The TANCO continues to be a consultant for Hyattsville, And if you recall, we presented on their feasibility study. TANCO updated its feasibility study, and they've changed their recommendation. Previously, TANCO would be the converting the LED lights and having there were 4 options. So anyway, the arrangement, the feasibility was updated. Now, their recommendation is that Hyattsville will acquire and update the LED lights, and I'll be happy to share that updated presentation. We'll welcome feedback from council if you want to hear from TANCO directly. We had previously presented a proposal from TANCO to do a feasibility study for the city of Greenbelt or the 4 cities coalition together, and if there might be a savings if we did it all together. I remain, my opinion remains the same, that our best economic position long term is for us to acquire the lights and convert the lights to LED as soon as possible, because that's how we will gain the most savings. The sooner those lights are converted to LED, the sooner we'll realize the savings. Right, that's on street lights. We're excited to host a series of events this weekend. We will have the Wellness Walk. I look forward to seeing you all there. Then we'll have the job fair. We have already over 200 residents registered to attend the event. We've been taking some registrations for participants. We have a little over 20 vendors that are registered as presenters and companies that are seeking employees. We're also excited to host the senior luncheon this Friday with Council Member Watson and special guest Senator Washington. We'll also host a site visit for the bond bill for the elevator. The delegation secured $200,000 for us to replace one of the, replace the elevators at the community center. As council is aware, both elevators need replacement. $200,000 will help us get closer to replacing one elevator. We're also working on a facade improvement grant. Carrie and John Mason are leading this effort. We'll be looking for funding for the Roosevelt Center to do some facade improvements of the space. We're currently reviewing health insurance renewal rates. We're planning an open enrollment season for the employees, and we'll have a job fair, a health fair and benefits fair for employees at the beginning of June. We continue preparations for the 2026 budget. The impacts of the federal government and the proposed budget are difficult to ascertain. We know we're going to have some impact. We just don't know all the impacts. You've heard from the team at Greenridge. You heard from CARES related to the HUD funding, which Ms. Rosenthal mentioned this afternoon. We don't know if we're going to get that funding. So we're planning, doing contingency planning. How do we fund that much needed position? You heard from the residents at Greenridge House that they rely on that critical service. So that's one of our initiative, or one of the programs that we need to have some contingency for to ensure that it continues. We hosted the Comcast team. We're continue to explore the lift zones at Spring Hill Lake Recreation Center. I think I presented on this about a year ago. We had an official site visit from the Comcast team to look at Spring Hill Lake Recreation Center for a computer lab concept. So we'll continue to work on that. We had a wonderful event this weekend, Agreement Festival, very well attended. It's amazing to see so many people out there on Sunday, in particular when we had both the farmers market and the festival going on at the same time. Further, we have opened the outdoor pool. It's open, so I don't know, Mr. Mayor, if you were able to get out there.
Going to take the plunge.
Someone was already swimming, I saw.
At 6 a.m.
Yeah.
My daughter went this evening. She said it wasn't that bad.
Okay, excellent. Excellent. And with that, I'll close out that our summer camp registrations are going well, and regrettably, we always have a wait list. So just this morning, Mr. Varda presented to me that we have some 60 kids on the Creative Camps waiting list, and another 30 for Circus Camp. So we're oversubscribed on some of those camps.
That's phenomenal.
Oh, and I would be remiss if I don't recognize Kevin, who had an amazing Birding 101 event. Hope you see those. I don't know if you got a chance to see those social media pictures. Take any questions you may have on the manager's report.
Council member.
Sorry, could, just to go back to what you were saying about the computer lab at Spring Hill Lake, just, so what's the thought to actually put in a computer lab or to, because I feel like it was at one point, wasn't it a computer?
Yes.
Okay, so are we putting it back in?
So the computers that we had there are old computers. They're non-functional. So we met last week and we had the recreations team there. We thought that what we could use would be another portable laptop station like the one that we used to have. The kids the participants can check out.
Okay.
Expanding Wi-Fi access on the facility without the restrictions right now because of we're running it on a city government network. The network's restricted in both speed and content. We want to lift some of those restrictions, particularly around speed for the public Wi-Fi. So the program participants or folks that visit the facility have broader access to the internet. Now, we'll still have some limitations. It wouldn't be completely unchecked internet service there, but at least the speeds would be removed. So if anyone wants to be on Netflix or YouTube or whatever websites that draw a lot of bandwidth, they will be able to do that, which is something that they can't do now. So the concept is twofold. One, providing greater internet access to the participants, expanding our Wi-Fi capability. And then there's a technology aspect, being able to check out a tablet or laptop for participants.
Okay, thanks for the clarification, because I feel like having a tablet or a notebook is probably more user-friendly at this point, especially if there were, I don't know if there were desktops before and if they were actually getting usage. And I know there's limited space to begin with. So how can we still give access to things we need when it comes to technology, but not minimizing the space for other recreational programs that are desperately in need at that place? So if it serves both purposes, then that's great.
And that was one of the critical feedbacks that we received from the recreation teams, that every space at Spring Hill Lake Recreation is multi-purpose.
Right.
So no one space could be dedicated to workstations and fixed workstations. So any equipment we bring has to be portable and flexible for the space.
Mm-hmm. Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, so this is actually related to some of the budget comments from earlier. I think one thing that could be helpful, there was that initial presentation that was given that gave sort of a summary of the budget and the brief changes. And so I think if that could be posted on the budget website, that actually does serve some of the summary purposes that Ms. Rosenthal was looking for, I think, because it goes over sort of the broad strokes of what has changed in this budget versus last year's budget. And I think it was part of the meeting on March 24th, but I think it was added later. So I think last time I looked for it in that agenda packet, it wasn't included there because I think it was a last-minute addition. But I think just posting it on the budget page as here's a summary of sort of the broad strokes could be a start to help Ms. Rosenthal's question for that. And I think the other thing that I think is worth clarifying is that we've talked a lot about budget things, but I think all of the changes that have happened thus far have been technical corrections of errors. We haven't actually made any substantive, we haven't really discussed any we haven't made any decisions related to substantive changes in the budget. When we've talked about some of the things related to the solid waste disposal and compost and things, but we haven't actually changed anything in the budget as of yet. So I think that's just worth noting that honestly, those discussions usually don't really happen until that final budget work session when we actually talk about what are the changes that we want to make in the different areas.
Yes, we can't really make changes at work sessions, so it's only in a meeting. Along with that idea, perhaps we can also post the links to the various work session videos. They are easily available on YouTube or through the city's website. So there's a way to, if we're planning on putting another ad in the news review or on our website, perhaps it can be a link or a brief statement summary and links to the various work sessions.
Thank you. I will work with Ms. Anderson to upload the PowerPoint presentation to the council materials, and we'll upload it to the budget website. On the, in addition to the PowerPoint presentation, we also have a summary of changes in the introduction of the budget, which not quite 2 pages, but it's a little longer than that, but enough to provide an overview. I'm currently working on the letter for our citizens, part of the City Connector, and that includes a budget summary. So I'll look to expand that initial that introduction to the budget as part of City Connector. City Connector is a very small document, so the budget can't take up more than 2 paragraphs on there. We'll publish new information, not new information, but summaries of the budget.
It is a challenge to summarize a 200-some page document in 2 paragraphs.
Correct, because there are many of our constituents care about different things. Right, we were, in my presentation of the budget, we highlighted a lot of the cuts, where the cuts come from. Many of them came from vacancies and positions that we're not going to hire, while recreations took big hits, and training and uniforms and other things, just because recreations did not have the vacancies. Well, there was 1 vacancy that we're holding off hiring for 3/4 of the year. But all the other things that they could afford to give up were in training and uniforms. And we acknowledged that up front, that this meant an impact to services. As we acknowledge in other service areas, we do weekend pickup. And so there's 2 positions, park maintenance positions, that we're not able to hire for, so that is going to affect the weekend pickup and evening pickups. So just today, Ms. Pope texted me about a carpet that's been dumped at Buddy Attic Park. It's late in the day. I don't have team folks on staff to be able to pick that up. In order to get it picked up this afternoon, I have to call someone in overtime to do that. So that will wait until tomorrow morning. We had illegal dumping at Northway Fields. Team went to pick that up today while we have staff on duty, but if it's happening at late hours and weekends, we may not get to it.
Councilmember McKinney, I have a couple of questions also. I don't know if any, yes, please go ahead.
I was wondering, maybe you can also attach to your summary presentation that you did the combined list of questions that I know a few of us have sent in questions ahead of time. The staff has been really great at answering those prior. So I know some of the residents have some questions and wanted to know if there were questions asked prior to that. I think that could be just attached to that document.
And we'll do it. Mr. Tim George has been collecting all those questions into a single document.
2 questions. One, you mentioned the overpayments to PEPCO over the years, and I guess that's been happening for a while. I'm wondering, how will we go about renegotiating repayment of the overpayments we've made?
We have a commitment from PEPCO to provide a refund to the city in the amount of a little over $87,000. That was back in October. So how I plan to reconcile the refund that's due to the city is, in October, when we negotiated and agreed to the inventory, we were due $87,000. Our bill for November and December was to be reduced by around $2,800 because we had corrected we had accepted a certain number of lights. That included rejecting the SHA lights.
Yes.
So my expectation is that from December through today, our bill should be $2,800 less every month. And so I'm tallying that up, and I would, when we hear from SHA regarding the lights, we will go back to PEPCO and say, and tally or reconcile the total amount that we expect back. And there'll be some conversation around that.
So it sounded like the $87,000 would actually go back 5-6 years.
3 years. So the agreement that PEPCO made with the municipality is that they would credit back the municipalities for overpayments going back to 3 years, unless the municipalities had evidence and data that supported going back further. Well, the city, we do not have records of what lights are on our poles and how much wattage they're pulling because we didn't install those lights. We never kept track of those lights, so we don't have anything to go back further than 3 years.
Understood. Thank you. The other question I had, there have been some reports for a while, reports of some vandalism back behind 36 Court off of Ridge. And I'm just wondering if any progress has been made in trying to address the vandalism.
Chief, is this our case that we discussed last week?
Yeah.
This is in the forest?
Yes.
So we're limited what we can say publicly. What I can say is last week I had Public Works and the police department go looking for the individual and looking for trail obstructions. Both the individual was not located and the obstructions to the trail have been removed. Chief, is there any other updates to that?
I was just sort of asking generically, this vandalism kind of is what you could call some of it.
I'm hesitant to call it, we'll say just obstructions. I think the vandalism, we're by using the word vandalism, then we're accepting that there's a crime being committed. And that merits a certain type of response. I'll say that the trail's been obstructed, items that don't belong are there. Chief, is there anything?
Yeah.
I'm not the police chief,
So it's something that there's been no vandalism. Obviously, there's an issue in that area. It's something we continue to monitor. We've made that part of our regular patrol area, checking that particular section of the gardens on a daily basis. And the officers are actually sitting back there writing reports. So if you see an officer back there, they're not hiding, they're actually writing reports. We continue to look for that individual and continue to monitor the area as best we can, and we don't have anything new to report.
Appreciate that. Some of the residents are just asking about that.
I will add, Mayor, that I understand that there's a growing concern and fear from our residents, and I encourage our residents to call the police. If they are concerned or have fears or have any encounters, please do not hesitate to call the police department, whether that's the 911 or the 9 emergency number, because we're proactively working on this case, and our law enforcement team is trained. Just last week, we had an additional 18 officers trained in CIT, so our team has capacity or has a capability and training to do more than the traditional law enforcement aspect. So we have a CIT team, or our officers are trained in de-escalation tactics in identifying resources for the individual.
Right.
Chief, that was a great. I didn't report out on that, but we had the CIT training last week. How many additional officers did we train?
So that was an in-service for the existing program, and they did have a couple of officers. The previous week, we had a 40-hour program that we added additional officers through. The program that we had last week was in service for all the existing team. So we have a little over 18 officers that have attended the 40-hour CIT training. That's in addition to the full-time clinician and her co-responder partner.
It's a very timely training for Mental Health Awareness Month. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Hey, let's go ahead. We got a lot on the agenda here, a lot of ground to cover. So the first item is an item that Councilmember Pompey requested be placed on the agenda. Councilmember?
Hello. This is for first reading, an introduction, a resolution affirming the City of Greenbelt's commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Okay. I think you need to read it into the record, or it's just...
Yes, I was just pulling it up. Whereas the City of Greenbelt's community pledge states the strength of Greenbelt is diverse people living together in a spirit of cooperation. We celebrate all people. By sharing together, we are enriched. We strive to be respectful, welcoming, a respectful, welcoming community that is open, accessible, safe, and fair. Whereas the City of Greenbelt acknowledges that diversity can be defined as differences in race, gender identity, ethnicity, physical and or mental capability, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, immigration status, family status, and religious beliefs or lack thereof. Whereas the City of Greenbelt acknowledges that not all people start at the same place, and what is fair may vary across groups or individuals who may experience differences in opportunities, advantages, and barriers. Whereas the City of Greenbelt recognizes that inclusive and diverse viewpoints and opinions greatly enhance the city, its staff, City Council, and boards and commissions. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that the City Council of Greenbelt hereby proclaims our continuing commitment to promote a municipal work environment, city government, and community that reflects diversity, equity, and inclusion, to embrace and honor the differences and rights of all groups, particularly those who have been historically disenfranchised and discriminated against based on identity or ability, and encourages all residents to strive to create an inclusive, supportive, and supportive environment in which everyone feels valued and empowered to contribute to the betterment of the city of Greenbelt.
Okay, thank you. That's a resolution introduced for first reading by Councilmember Pompey. The next item, item number 12, is a resolution to authorize the negotiated purchase of professional design services and community engagement for the development of a master plan for Indian Creek Park from Mahan Rakil Associates Incorporated at a cost not to exceed $25,600 and an additional allowance not to exceed $7,000 for procurement of engineering support services from the city's on-call engineer. So this is actually, it's a resolution for first reading, and the staff recommendation is that the City Council look at authorizing this, allowing the city manager to execute a contract with Mackay Rakal Associates Incorporated to develop a master plan for the Greenbelt Station Indian Creek Park. $32,600 would be the total. $7,000 contingency to cover engineering support services. It's not a contingency, but actually $7,000 additional dollars to cover engineering support services by the city, on-call engineer Charles P. Johnson and Associates, and that would be billed to the city on an hourly basis. Staff believes Mahan Rakal's proposal will yield the professional services needed to support the future development of the Indian Creek Park area at a very competitive price. The scope of work outlined by Mahan Rakal includes a public engagement piece and is tailored to build off the hard work and public input that went into the Greenbelt Station Green Space Vision Plan. So this is a resolution for first reading, so we're not going to discuss it tonight. There's a number of attachments, so this information is available for the public to review, and we'll be talking about this in greater detail at a future council meeting.
Did you formally make a motion, or do we need to still do that?
I did not formally make a motion. Would you like to do that?
So I move that City Council authorize the city manager to execute a contract with Mahan Rakil Associates Incorporated to develop a master plan for the Greenbelt Station Indian Creek Park area at a total cost of $32,600, which includes $7,000 to cover engineering support services by the city's on-call engineer Charles P. Johnson and Associates.
Second.
Well, it's the first reading, so we don't do a second. We just need to formally make the motion.
Sorry.
That's going to bring us to the next section, other business. Item number 13 is acceptance of report and results of the 2023 Community Questionnaire. So staff, Mr. George in particular, is going to present to council the 2023 Community Election Survey, which is a survey that is conducted every 2 years around election time, election years. So, Mr. George, I've got a number of documents here for us to look at, and the community as a whole wants to hear about the community's voice. What did people say on this survey?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Let me share my screen, Benita. So we have, there's a brief presentation. The full report is in the packet. James did a fantastic job on a much, much longer presentation. It was about 40 slides, but I was advised not to give the 40-slide presentation tonight. So this is a much shorter version, but all the longer versions are on the website, and we're happy to answer any questions as we go along. I'll try to keep it quick since we've got a lot to do. Let's see if I'm in the right place. So as you all know, we do a community questionnaire every year, every election year. We've done it for the last 20 or 30 plus years. We generally keep the questionnaire the same so that we can compare data from year to year. We have current questions that are different, and sometimes we have other questions at the back that are different. But for the most part, the questions stay the same. What we're asking for really is basic demographic questions. Where do you live? How old are you? That sort of thing. Are you satisfied with city services? Have you interacted with city departments? And if so, what has your feeling been about those interactions? We're trying to kind of get to the bottom of how we're doing. We focus on each of the city departments. Lately, one of the things we've really been looking at is city communications and the website, and are we reaching the residents where they'd like to be reached from a communication standpoint. Again, finally, we look at city services and taxes, and then the value of the city services overall. The survey is published several times in the News Review, once before the election and once after the election. It is available during early voting, is available during regular voting. It's on the website. We send it out social media alerts to all of our alert sessions to try to get as much input as we can. And again, we're trying to get the broadest amount of support in filling out the survey. What's on the screen is just a simple shot of it. It's a double-sided 11 by 17. So when we look at adding new current questions and other possible changes, we try to stay in that same 11 by 17 format so that it's easier to produce and it fits nicely on the back page of the News Review. Traditionally, we've had the University of Maryland Government Service and Research Institute calculate the numbers for us. It's a pretty large data set, and they also summarize all the fill-in-the-blank questions at the end. All of that is in the full report that you all have received and will be posted online as well. What we started doing a couple years ago was, before they would include the non-responses as part of the response, but that diluted kind of those folks that are actually answering, so we've removed the non-responses from the answered questions to get the actual people that responded to the question. We get that percentage, and that's changed our numbers a little bit in terms of who's in favor, yes, no, on various questions. A big change from last year or last survey is that our response rate dropped by almost 50%, from 1389 in 2021 to 748 in 23. A big reason for that, one of the things in 21 was the first time we did the full mail-out voting. In 21, we mailed the survey to every person in the city, every registered voter, which was accompanied by the application for, do you want a mail-in ballot? And if they return that, then we'd send them a ballot. The good news was we got a much better response. The bad news is that's a significant cost with over 7,000 registered voters, and like I said, it's an 11 by 17 double-sided piece of paper. It was a big cost. The following year, we simply had a note in there that if you wanted to have a survey sent to you with your mail-in ballot, we would do that. We didn't get nearly as much response. The other significant change, as you all know, from 21 to 23 is we changed how much early voting we have. Early voting turns out to be one of the more favored places for people to do the survey. In years prior, at least 30 to 35% of the responses came from the early voting sites. One of the things we're working on, I've talked to Benita, and I know she's talked to the Board of Elections, is putting a flyer in the mailer that goes out to everyone, not a full ballot, not a full questionnaire, but a flyer that has a QR code, has the website address, and really trying to promote it more that way. Also trying to put it out so it's in more places other than just in the News Review. Actually providing copies to some of our rental locations and other sites so that it's physically on site. If people have a physical copy, they're more likely to fill it out than if they have to go seek one. But at the same time, we feel like mailing it to all registered voters is still a significant cost. And it also kind of delays how the ballots can get sent out because we have to stuff that into the envelope. So that's one of the big issues we had. The response rate is very similar. I actually looked at the last 3 years. The response rate in terms of ownership, folks that are over 45, and in the center of Greenbelt is almost the same year after year. This year we had 88% of the folks that filled it out own. The last survey was 79. In 2019, it was 80%, which is really letting us know that only 20% are renters, so we're still not hitting the renters in the city, and that makes up a significant amount of our households. So again, I know the DEI group has been working on voter engagement and other engagement. We're trying to figure out better ways to get engagement, not just the survey engagement, but just general engagement into that rental community. Again, the majority of the folks that are responding are in Center Greenbelt. In this year, it was 71%. In the last 2 years, last 2 cycles, it was 60%. So it is a higher level again, trying to reach the east, trying to reach the west a little bit better, not just for the survey, but really just in general to get them engaged in what we're doing. The rating of city services, instead of, there's, as you know from the survey, there are, probably 40 different questions. What I asked James to do is he pulled up really kind of the top 7 or 8 that got the highest rankings. The highest score was 5. So special events, visual arts, performing arts, a lot of the programs that both CARES and Recreation are doing garnered the highest score. Animal control scored well. I know the chief is probably excited about that, as well as refuse collection. So a lot of these are scores that we're typically used to seeing, survey after survey, in terms of what rates highest. In terms of the overall rankings, and what we did is we took the average for each of the departments that has its own section. And you can see from the bar chart on the right and the bullets on the left that overall everyone either dropped a little bit or stayed the same. I think only CARES showed a gain. Talking to staff and some of my peers about it, we felt like maybe coming out of COVID was probably a big part of that. I mean, this is a 2-year survey. We didn't drop mask mandates until March or April of 23. Recreation and some of the other programming really didn't get back into full swing until late 23, early 24, which probably has a lot to do with the ratings being a little low. Although with that being low, they're not terribly low. They're just down a point or two. Nothing is terribly concerning. A lot of them, the 23 and the 21 number were the same. So really nothing of significant concern. In terms of value overall, and this is kind of the overall average, even though a lot of those numbers were down a little bit or even, the overall average over the last 10 years for all departments has been 4.03, which is exactly what we got in 23. So it really has kind of averaged itself out. I'd like to go back and see what happened in 2011, because folks were very, very happy about our performance in 2011, but otherwise it's been anywhere kind of from 3.9 to 4.06, so it's been pretty consistent.
It's 2 years after Ms. Pope was elected.
Oh, that's why. There you go. And with that, I'd happy to open it up to any questions. Just want to kind of get through it quickly. And again, we have the full survey, the full question results will be on the website and available if anybody would like a copy.
Councilmember McKinney.
I just wanted to clarify, how many languages was the survey offered in?
It was just offered in English.
Okay.
That
might be.
Well, we are working towards doing it in Spanish. It's a pretty large document. So last year we did, and this year we would be looking to do it in Spanish, which means we'll have to have probably 2 pages of the news review, which is fine. And we now have a lot of Spanish-speaking folks on staff that are getting a language benefit, so we can have that translated in Spanish as well.
I'm sorry, can I just ask one additional
Yes,
follow-up
please.
question then? And when you are going through the document in draft before you publish, are you also checking for the literacy level of the survey itself? So is it written at because we might not only just have language barriers, but there are also literacy barriers that may prevent people from understanding. So if you're putting out a document, it should be written at, whatever. A lot of standards is a 5th grade or a 7th grade level.
Okay.
I'll jump in on that because we're looking at it organizational-wide policy. We had a meeting a few weeks ago setting the standards. What are our communication standards? On our English communications, we're looking at an 8th grade communication standard. In Spanish, we were looking to do the same. We're still in the process of evaluating that. Depending on the country of origin and the type of Spanish that we adopt, we may want to go further down. on those on that grade level target, primarily because we're looking at from a cultural competencies perspective, we have immigrants coming from, and this is broadly, not just the Spanish-speaking community, but other communities that there have been educational attainment challenges due to conflict in those countries of origin. So we're evaluating that, looking at our demographic data and deciding what level of literacy we're going to adopt in a type of dialect or language of that particular language. To be more direct, in looking at Spanish, we're either looking at international sort, Central American sort, or Salvadorian Mexican dialects of Spanish. In French, we've yet to evaluate the demographics from, correct, whether it be French Creole from Haitian, or is it folks from Senegal French.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, so I understand the desire to keep it sort of consistent throughout the years to be able to compare to the past, but when's the last time we looked at, it seems like there might be some questions that we might need to, maybe as we're doing this, look at a little bit of an overhaul. Because I noticed, for example, there was a question about like the science and reading clubs, should the city still provide those? That was on page 13/58, depending on whether it's the results packet or the packet. And I don't think that's even something we do anymore. So I guess I'm thinking that maybe at the same time as we're looking at this, offering it in other languages and maybe thinking about the language level, that it might be a time to rethink some of our questions more broadly speaking. And I know that loses us some of the continuity and the ability to compare in the past, but I'm guessing it's been a while since it's been sort of overhauled. And it is fairly lengthy. And I do wonder if we get people who start and then don't complete because it's kind of a long survey. So I just think that's the sort of things we should maybe think about and just make it more effective, because it would be, if we were more focused on things we really wanted to know about and got more responses on fewer things, that might be more helpful than getting fewer responses on a lot of things.
Yeah, no, I agree. And Mr. Rand provided some thoughts to us a few weeks ago in terms of demographic questions and things, and staff has taken a good look at it, and we've come up with a series of a handful of questions that kind of get to the point, really more to the why, that kind of connects demographics to the ratings. And talking with the city manager, we were looking at possibly having CRAB, council make this as a referral to CRAB, so they could take a good look at the survey. Staff could provide our thoughts on potential additional questions that would help get to the answers that Mr. Rand had talked about, and even providing Mr. Rand's email to CRAB in terms of opening that up. And, do we want to add race? Do we want to add gender? Are there other questions? In talking with Tyra and Chandria, really kind of getting to the why question, are there reasons why you're not attending city council meetings? And then, the answer could be language, time, childcare. So we're looking at things to try to get beyond the questions, because just the demographic and the rating doesn't give you there's a leap between demographics and the ratings. And so we've come up with 4 or 5 questions that we think kind of bridge that gap. So we'd really like to kind of have council perhaps refer this to CRAB, and we can let CRAB, we can still get it done with referral before the election. We have plenty of time to have them take a look at it and then bring it back before this body to take a look. But I agree, Ms. Weaver. I think not completely overhauling the questionnaire, but I think refining it for 2025 would be a good thing.
And I appreciate the emphasis that you already talked about the trying to find other ways besides just sending out something to all households. Now, do we send, I guess, and that's an interesting question, because there's about 10,000 households, I think, based on the numbers. But if it goes out with the election, it could also be, if we can find some other ways to get it out to people who are also not registered voters and not rely solely on, I think it's great to have it as part of the election. That's important too. But we also then are not reaching people who are not the registered voters but are still residents of the city. So that's something. And then I guess my other concern, and I've brought this up before, is just, it takes so long to get the analysis from the University of Maryland, and I don't know if there's another way we can figure out how to get that faster, or some other techniques or something. It's just that, it's not, I actually, that was one of the comments I was reading through the written comments that people had put in there is, can we make sure that these good comments don't get lost? Like, that was actually somebody's comment on the survey that we're reading like a year and a half later. So if there's anything we can do to make this more efficient and get some more data, and they did actually, reading through some of just the raw comments, there were actually some really useful things. It's like, oh yeah, and I would also note some things that we actually have done in the time since they made those comments. But it just feels like an exercise in, not quite futility, because I think it does have some use, but it's not as useful as it could be if we have to wait so long for getting any sort of summary of the results.
Maybe, Ms. Niesel,
Oh.
or Councilmember Niesel, please.
So I heard you speaking about a QR code. Are we still talking about only having this as a paper form, though? Is there any thought to, okay.
So we haven't finalized that. We're a couple months away from finalizing that. I think the cost is a concern for mailing it, but I think given the number of responses we get, it may just be worth the expense.
But
So
can-
to your question is mailing it.
Well, can we just do it as an online form? Wouldn't that be better for everyone? We get the data faster. We get more answers from people easier when they're doing it on their phone. I don't understand the utility of having people spend 10 minutes at the voting booth writing this out when they could be doing it while they're waiting in line, right?
It's online as well,
It
so
is?
it's not
Okay.
solely on paper. It's available
Okay.
online.
It's more than 10 minutes, too.
Yeah, it's a long survey.
But it might be cheaper to send a postcard with a QR code to every household, and then and then still provide opportunities for people who do still want to put it out on paper. But the postcards are cheaper to send than a whole paper survey.
Right,
So there
an
might
8-page fold, yeah.
I mean, that's going to be very expensive.
Yeah.
So right now, I think we want to keep an eye on that.
I have to tell you, I'm in favor of overhauling the survey. I've stated that a number of times over the years. I just think that the cost and the amount of time that it takes to do this, and the information that we're getting out of it, I think that it would be more efficient to actually have somebody else do it for us. That's a little late in the game to be saying this again, but I just think that for the folks, I felt this myself. Sometimes after casting a vote, I'm sitting there and filling it out, and 10 minutes passes. And just looking at the results, the number of people that responded on the website has increased 50%. So I think we've gathered great information over the years in sticking to the same questions, being able to compare. But I really think that it's time to kind of see if we can find someone else, a professional kind of, there may be some other entity at the University of Maryland that could actually do this for us. The Institute is affiliated, we've got the affiliation through the Maryland Municipal League. They're the ones that deliver the courses at the conference for council members. So I know it's a little late in the game, but how much did this cost again?
It's I think it's 6,500. I need to double check, but it's either 6,500 or 6,800.
That's not a whole lot of money to bid it out, but and it took them a year.
It took them a year, and but I agree with what you all have said with what Ms. Weaver said earlier. It does seem kind of a little bit long. I know the longest part for them is basically writing up all of the written responses at the end, and there are a lot of those, but a year does seem a little bit long to produce results.
Yeah, and also on election day or during early voting, if it was possible to have a couple of laptops available so that people could fill it out on the laptop as opposed to writing it out, that might actually make some of the answers a little bit more legible. I don't know. Mayor Pro Tem?
Well, I wonder if it makes sense to go ahead and make a motion to refer it to CRAB. Might
Yes,
as well do
we
it.
will.
I would say so. I would like to move to refer a revisiting and making recommendations about the community survey to CRAB.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Hey, I do want to point out historically, council has made, individual council members have made referrals without having to take it to a vote. So just as a practice. But we've made the referral. We've talked about this. We've got a question, hopefully, that directly relates to the conversation we're having right now. I don't see any other questions or comments online. Actually, I have two. I believe Mr. Orleans had his hand up first.
Thank you. My hand actually had been up for an hour about something else, but I have a question about this as well. I hope I'll be permitted to ask my question about something else since the chief is back in the room. Mr. George will certainly know that at CRAB, he's liaison to CRAB, that at CRAB meetings over the course of the last couple of years, at various times it's been suggested, and sometimes received enthusiastically, but never acted upon, and sometimes maybe received not so enthusiastically, an older suggestion for the city of Greenbelt. Those of us in this room tonight know what? 200 Greenbelters, maybe 300 Greenbelters, maybe 400 Greenbelters. There's 21, 22, 23,000 people living in the city. I don't understand why Greenbelt, 2 or 3 times a year, doesn't, on this good lawn over here, at the good lawn over in Greenbelt West, I might have thought the good lawn was where the rec center is, but maybe it would be the good lawn where Greenbelt Station is, or at Schramm Hills, have a community lunch. Let people know that come on out and get some food, and there'll be music play and activities for kids, childcare for parents. And at that time, members of council, members of staff, just residents of Greenbelt can get to know one another while they're eating and maybe hopefully having a good time. And other staff in that process could certainly walk among the people seated and eating and inquire about specifics. What more could the city do to involve the enthusiasm of all those residents who don't seem to know or care that they're residents of the city of Greenbelt? I again hope I will be recognized to ask my other questions at my hand is up now.
Mr. Rand?
Hi, Bob Rand, 19 Ridge Road. Yeah, as Mr. George said, I've been back and forth with staff a bit on this. I think the survey, which is, unless I'm missing something, perhaps the most widespread and valuable city data collection device, could be more useful if it included race, ethnicity, and sex and gender under the demographics. You could do a lot of really interesting comparisons, who lives where by what race or age, and see how satisfied they are with city services. For example, the Reparations Commission would have been really interested in filtering the responses by African Americans to see their experience of safety in city services. And I would point out that in the Phase 1 Tribacy findings, the data collection, so that you do understand the difference of experience of city services by different groups is important. Just a couple other suggestions. I know that demographics do ask for center, west, and east. If you could get more specifics with neighborhoods, that would be so much more valuable. The detailed and if the detailed tables, which are at the back of the packet, were presented by geography, that would be much more meaningful than voting location and web. So in other words, you see the responses of people who are happy or not happy, but then the table is kind of sorted by where you voted or whether you're on the web. Where you live would be much more useful. And then, if it's possible, if the raw data could be available to allow kind of advanced queries against a database, that would be helpful. And then, just in terms of the issue of equity in services, I guess my question is, what does this city want to understand in terms of this data collection, and how would that inform the redesign of the survey? Thank you.
Those are very thoughtful comments. So, Mr. Summerone, so, this data that we gather, we've been gathering historically and working with the team, is the plan to actually aggregate this information and share it with staff and use that to design the implementation of programming in the coming year?
We do. We discuss what those results are. Very broadly, the team values that average score. Folks see whether they're doing better or doing less than the previous year, and they respond to that. We haven't had a strategic planning session around this particular data set. Part of it is the timing of when things come. We're presenting to council now with this, and part of what's driving the presentation to council is that these numbers have been uploaded into the budget book, and we didn't want you to not have to go through the budget approval process without getting the presentation. So so the timing of it is really driven by the fact that we want you to have these numbers ahead of you approving the budget. In an ideal world, these would be inputs to a strategic plan or a planning retreat that we have as a leadership team.
Yes, definitely makes sense. One thing you mentioned initially, taking the no responses out of the numbers and the calculations, and that can be a mixed bag. On the one hand, no response could mean that the individual who was answering just either didn't have an opinion or maybe didn't feel like the program or the question was relevant to them. It can mean a lot of different things. So that's sort of a sticky point. We'll have to think that through and see if there's some other NA not applicable as opposed to no response, those kinds of things.
Right. Either way, you have to factor in the impact it has on the overall number. If it's no opinion, it's best to just withdraw the data from the average. Otherwise, it would drive down the score, or you give it a default score.
But if it's a question about whether or not a service is provided in a neighborhood and it's not, then the person might not respond because it's just the program's not there.
Right.
So this is really a good discussion. It's great to finally see these numbers. I appreciate the referral to CRAB. Personally, as a council member, I'd really like to, at some point pretty soon, just kind of look at if there are some other ways of kind of going about this. I think it's really time, because I don't think we've really taken an in-depth look at the questions or the format. I mean, we've kind of reviewed, staff has thoughtfully reviewed the tool as it is, but I don't think they've kind of taken it as a zero-sum kind of a thing, just starting from scratch a little bit on what we need. And that would also kind of play into the strategic plan piece. What information do we really need? What are we looking for? Speaks to Mr. Rand as well. We really need to get moving. I'm sorry, there's so much on this agenda. Let's move on to the Buddy Attic Master Plan, item number 14. Do we need to formally accept are you looking for a vote to accept it?
We prefer that you did. That way we record it as a final report.
I move that we accept the report and results of the 2023 Community Questionnaire.
Okay, Ms. Pope is seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And motion carries. Thank you so much. Item number 14 is the Buddy Attic Master Plan. Currently, Buddy Attic Park, its management and maintenance is guided by the 1992 Buddy Attic Park Master Plan. In early 2022, City Council approved American Rescue Plan Act funds to replace the 1992 Master Plan. Through a competitive process, Mahal Rakai Associates was awarded a contract to develop a new master plan which encompassed a broad scope of work. PRAB, the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, and the Buddy Attic Park Project team staff recommends that City Council accept and approve the 2025 Buddy Attic Park Master Plan, which replaced the 1992 version. This is a community-driven project that provides a vision and strategic plan for future utilization of Buddy Attic Park. The master plan will guide short and long-term improvements, protect the park's natural resources, and improve management practices. So there's a synopsis of the meetings that have taken place, and I'll leave that to Mr. Varda, Greg Varda, who's our recreation director, to kind of provide a synopsis of the process, and Matt Sickle, who is the chair of the PRAB committee, is also here to provide comments. We've got a number of documents. We've kind of worked through this quite a bit. The consultant, the contractor, has been very, very helpful.
Yes, happy to have the final version here tonight. And Mayor Pro Tem Weaver, there were a couple of PRAB people that said they might join virtually. I don't know if they're still on this late or not. But
I don't see anybody.
Okay. And I'd like to acknowledge the project team, Terry Ruby and Kevin Carpenter Driscoll, were very helpful in putting this together. And like you said, the PRAB chair, Matt Sickle, is in the room tonight. So this was one thing that was very important to PRAB, that this would be a community-driven project. We had 2 town halls and 2 work sessions, a survey that went out to the public. We accepted comments on the website and posted the project information on the website as well. If I can have Matt come up, and you might want to say a few words.
Mr. Sickle, welcome. Yeah.
Thanks, Greg.
And before we start, just so there were 4 different meetings. The first meeting, August 17th, 2023, there was a project kickoff with staff, council, PRAB, and the community. Meeting number 2, November 15th, 2023, survey results and tentative conceptual plans. In January 31st, 24, had a work session, and the contractor presented some of the emerging ideas. And the last session was in October of 2024, another work session with Mackay Associates Incorporated and the team. So, a lot of thought, a lot of work has gone into this, and PRAB in particular has provided strong leadership to staff and to council in moving this forward.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Mayor. The PRAB, engaged with the consultant, Mahan Reichel, over a period of about a year and a half, through a series of public meetings and meetings just with members of the PRAB. We were pleased with the process. We found the consultant to be responsive to the community comments and the PRAB comments, and voted unanimously in favor of council's acceptance of to recommend to council the acceptance of the master plan as a basis for making future decisions about the park, understanding that it's not an end point but a beginning point for what improvements will be made in the future.
It's powerful. Now, PRAB had a couple of ongoing concerns, or just in making the recommendation, there were a couple of things you wanted staff and council to keep an eye on.
I think things including especially the trail surfacing, we think merit continued review, and we hope that council and the city will see this as a living document that will be best if it's periodically updated based on new information and changing circumstances.
Appreciate that. Mayor Pro Tem?
Oh, I was just going to say, we shouldn't wait. The last one was 1992. You don't think we should wait that long again?
Well, PRAB has a few members with tenure that extends back to the 1992, and so they are happy to see this new version as a big improvement over their original.
Yeah, well, and I agree, and that was one of the things that you have in your in the recommendation from PRAB, but I think is worth calling out specifically. I think the consultants talked about this a little bit, maybe suggesting that sort of the proposed circle path might be a good place to test some of the proposed trail materials and see what people think of them when they're in sight. But because it's the place that it has the most traffic, and we most want to make accessible as quickly as possible. But also some of these materials are also expensive, we know. So that's another challenge to phasing it in terms of being able to afford all of these changes we might like to see.
Yes, I'll affirm the value of pilot projects.
Hey, with the public sessions and the input, there were some concerns that came up, and some people, naturally were very concerned about maintaining the natural environment and the feel of the park. So I was just wondering to staff, in working with the consultant and coming to this final point for approval, how were the public's comments taken into account in this final document before us?
Well, I think we read all the public comments, and we know when you take a project out to the community, you're not going to get 100% consensus on that, but we certainly took the majority of what we heard, and Kevin is our environmental coordinator, and I don't need to tell you how important the environment is to him at Buddy Attic Park, and anything we do down there, that'll be a priority.
Appreciate that. And, a couple of residents they felt like the proposal was to pave a trail all the way around the lake, and that's not what's going to happen at all. It's a plan.
It's a plan, and certainly when we get to that point, there will be many work sessions so the community can weigh in on it. We're going to look at a lot of different options. Of course, funding will be a big part of that, and we're going to look at some of the low-hanging fruit items this summer and get some prices for that, and see what we can possibly move forward in the near future. The pavilions, Kevin met with the vendor a month ago. We're hoping the pavilions are put in before 4th of July.
Before the 4th of July?
Yes.
It should be a pleasant new thing to look at and to take advantage of, a little shelter.
Yeah, and like Matt said, this is going to be a living document. We're going to review it. There's going to be some addendums to it, and those will all come through council as well. And every advisory board had an opportunity to provide input on the draft plan.
And just to kind of move this along, I'll make a motion to accept the plan, to accept the Buddy Attic Master Plan as presented.
Second.
And I don't know how much additional discussion. I'll say it again, though. We're not planning, staff is not planning to pave a trail around the lake. But accessibility and making the park as accessible as possible while maintaining the natural character of the park is a goal. Mayor Pro Tem?
I just would like to note that I found a few typos that I don't know if I didn't get them sent to you before, but not substantive things, but a few typos that I will send corrections. So if we're willing to accept with the understanding that there's a few like misspellings that I noticed and some other things.
Right. And I need to change the dates to tonight for the acceptance as well. So that's fine.
Okay.
For me, anyway.
Yeah, if that's okay with everybody.
Oh, yeah, that's not a substantial change. Okay. Any comments pertinent to this discussion here? Anybody online?
No, nobody had hand raised online.
Any additional comments, Mr. Varga or Mr. Sickle? Okay. This is a resolution to, no, it's not. Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you very much. Thank you for all of the work for PRAB and for staff. It's great to finally have this in place, because I know members of PRAB have been advocating for it for like
Not
10
for
or
a few
15 years.
so, We're finally getting there, so.
Okay. Hey, item number 16, that would be the FY 2026 Program Open Space Annual Program. The county's FY 2026 Program Open Space allocation is $3.7 million. Including the county's FY 2026 allocation, the total unencumbered program open space balance available to participating municipalities is $9,133,919, with the majority of it eligible to be used on development or acquisition projects. Either one. For FY 2026, staff recommends the inclusion of 2 development projects. The first project, the Greenbelt Station Outdoor Recreational Amenities, was approved by the council and the county to be included in the city's FY 2025 Program Open Space Annual Program. It is being included in the city's 2026 Program Open Space Annual Program, since technically the project has not been approved by the Maryland Board of Public Works, and therefore the funding has not yet been encumbered. Staff anticipates submitting the project to the Board of Public Works for approval by the end of this fiscal year. The second project staff proposes is the Greenbelt Youth Center roof replacement and patio improvement project. Staff recommends is requesting $1,350,000 in program open space funding to fund the area. The city's required match is $150,000. So the city's program is due to the county May 16th. That's just a few days from now. Based on communication with Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission, the county has sufficient program open space funding to fully fund the city's FY 2026 request. So staff is recommending council approve the proposed FY 2026 program open space annual program. Terry Ruby, our Director of Planning and Community Development, is at the podium, and she is ready to answer any questions. Do you just want to talk about the process? So these projects both have to go before the Board of Public Works. One, would they both go now, or how's that going to work?
They will not both go at the same time. We are currently working on our application for the South Core amenities. So that will go first. That was an FY25 submittal. And then after July 1st for FY26, we'll start working on the roof. That's when those fundings are available.
Okay, and the match, the $150,000 match, is that for the roof project, the youth center project, or is that for the
that would be
Greenbelt
for
Station?
the roof. It's a 10% match. That's
10%
required.
match.
If you recall, it used to be 25%. Now that the county has reached its canopy goal, it
Right.
is now a 10% required match.
Right. And if you could just refresh my memory, this program open space project process has changed just a little bit. The county sort of aggregated all the money where they used to sort of divide it up in a different way.
Correct. Now it's one large pot, if you
One
will,
pool.
for municipalities, and we submit our ideas, if you will, for a request in advance, and then the county sort of gives us a heads up if they believe they will be able to fund all the requests that they receive or not with the amount of monies that they have. To this point, they have been able to. At some point, if they get an abundance of requests that exceed, if you will, the amount of monies that are available, then they will go to a scoring, a criteria system, which they have yet to do. I can tell you, just FYI, last year, 3 municipalities, we were one, submitted a request. Berwyn Heights submitted a very modest request, if you will, and then College Park submitted a request for Duval Field. I think it was in the range of ours, if I'm not mistaken, around $1 million or $500,000. And then I know every year the council's interested in what the county's doing, so I can tell you that last fiscal year they submitted 8 acquisition projects, and I believe it was 4 development projects. And for this coming year, they're going to submit 4 acquisition projects and 4 development projects.
Any of those projects in North County, the acquisition?
The acquisition projects for this year are Huntington North Park, Cross Creek, Saddlebrook West Park, and Patuxent River Park. And if you're interested in last year's, I can certainly, it was an addition to Paint Branch Stream Valley Park, New College Park, additions to Huntington Park North, Charles Branch. Some of these are resubmittals, Riverdale Road Trail Connector, in addition to Abraham Hall.
Got it. Abraham Hall is pretty close. And I think that Patuxent Park, that might be over by Bowie State, kind of close to where that connecting trail is going to go across the Patuxent for the bike trails. So that's interesting. And what entity, what part of the county actually adjudicates this? Which office is it?
Maryland
Planning?
National Capital Park and Planning Commission, the Parks and Recreation Office.
Okay,
Department.
okay. Council member?
Yes, so it looks like you're going to request $1.35 million for the youth center roof and replacement and patio improvement, and then $247,500 for Greenbelt Station South Core.
Yes, and that money's actually had already been allocated by the county to that project. We just need to still get the
Board of Public
approval
Works.
from the Board of Public Works for the Greenbelt Station.
Okay, great.
Okay. Hey, I'll go ahead. You want to make a motion, council member?
I am going to make a motion that the city council approve the proposed FY 2026. Shoot, I lost it.
Oh,
FY
no.
2026 program open space annual program.
Second.
Okay, Ms. Pope is seconded. Is there any discussion? Yes, Mr. Orleans? Okay, thank you. We're going to move on then. So if there's nobody online or anything, let's go ahead and take a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay. The motion does carry. That's going to bring us up to item number 16, which is a presentation for fleet. Let's see. Is this just you, Mr. Summer? Not just you, Mr. Summerone. Is this something you're going to?
It's team effort. I do give in consideration of the time. That's 9:40.
I was going to actually maybe perhaps we should special order item number 17.
Well, or should we just move this one to the next meeting? Should we just move the presentation?
Oh, we
of
certainly could
fleet?
do that.
I would like to move that we move the presentation of fleet and equipment electrification plan to our next regular council meeting.
Second.
Okay. Discussion? No discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion does carry. So that's going to bring us to item number 17, which is authorization for the city manager to execute speed camera contract. And this is a memo by Lieutenant Apgar and a number of documents, but our police chief is here, and I'll just read this briefly. The Greenbelt Police Department contracts with Ultimate Incorporated for its automated speed enforcement program set to expire in June of 2025. The Calvert County Sheriff's Office recently awarded contract number 2024-049 to Ultimate, allowing for a one-year term with options to renew through 2029 at a cost of $3,499 per camera per month, an increase of $699 per site per month. The police department assessed existing contracts and found this to be the most cost-effective option. So to manage costs, the department will rotate 4 out of the 7 proposed speed camera locations, reducing the annual program cost to $167,952, which is a reduction from the current price of $235,200 per year. Police Department recommends authorizing the city manager to enter into this contract with Ultimate Incorporated. Chief, how are you tonight?
Good, Council. How are you?
Good. Hey, can you talk a little bit just in terms of the implementation timeline with this proposal? How is it looking just in terms of when this might be implemented?
So this is our existing vendor. They used to be called Recor. They were bought up by Ultimate about a year and a half ago, so we're already doing business with them. So this will be a continuation of our current business. One of the benefits to this particular new contract will be a change out of the equipment that we have. It's the cameras and equipment that we have is pretty old. They came with the original contract back in the mid-teens. So it's about 10 or 15-year-old equipment. So that equipment should improve the program's efficiency and help with that. One of the things we have seen with the program, though, is the increase in costs. And based on those increase, we were able to assess the current 7 sites. And we will continue to use all 7 approved sites, but we'll use a less number of cameras focusing on those areas where we continue to see the most violations and where we think we'll get the biggest safety increase.
So the enclosures would still be there. It's just there would not necessarily be a camera inside of the enclosure?
Those include the current camera systems
Closures?
that you see will go away, and they'll be replaced by more modern equipment, but they
Like
will be in the
a
locations
pole?
where there's nothing up, there'll be something up, so it looks like there's a camera there.
Okay. So when you say improved efficiency, or when you say the cost is increasing, and talking about efficiency, I mean, you got the cameras, and we're going to have civilian officers actually reviewing the tickets. So when they talk about increased cost, is the compliance rate or the collection rate by this company, is it dwindling, or where will they actually be?
The number of violations has gone down, which is what you would expect
That's
to
what we
see on a
want,
program like this. But the other piece is that the technology that we're using is old, and so it doesn't track when it across multiple lanes as well. So we do have some camera sites that are on multiple lane roads. So the newer systems have an ability to track multiple lanes more efficiently than the older cameras do. So that will be one of the pieces that we'll see. And we expect where you have areas where there's multiple lanes of traffic, those cameras will provide a little bit better efficient camera. The other thing too is because the ones we have, they're all battery powered. So there's some downtime on them, and the companies every day you probably see them out there having to put new batteries into these machines. So that's something that will be reduced as the amount of time they have to come out and put batteries in. Two things. So our program is still only school zone program. We have not made any recommendations to change to a residential-based program. And the other piece is that we don't have a civilian employee who approves citations at this point. We do it through our traffic officer, and she's the one that does it. The company handles most of the back end of starting and calibrating the cameras, and then what the officer does is actually go in daily and approve out the citations.
Right. Hey, I'm definitely not looking for this tonight, but I'm curious. I'd like to see some information on the collection rates. How many tickets they are able to collect on?
So-
how many the fines have doubled?
Yep.
Things like that.
So that we don't. There is no doubling of fines in the state of Maryland. A speed citation is only $40. Doesn't matter if you pay it today or 6 months from today. A number of years ago, the courts ruled that there's no provision in the code to assess late fees or anything like that. So there's never any late fees assessed with a speed camera violation. Just looked at a report a couple of days ago. We average about 68% payment rate across all of them, about 48% on the initial first notice, and then the percentages go up a little bit from there as they send a second notice, and then a pre-collections, and then a collections notice. So we average about 68% collection rate.
That's interesting. Hopefully, if only a court in the District of Columbia would make a similar kind of a ruling on fines, that would be nice. Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, so my question is, who will actually do the rotation of the cameras? Is that something that Ultimate does, and is that included in the fees here?
Yes, ma'am. That's something they'll take care of, and that's part of the program.
Okay, so that's not any extra cost, and
No,
they'll do it on whatever schedule we want them to rotate them on?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
And I was wondering, Ms. Anderson, could you possibly put the document with the sites on screen so that folks can see them at home on Zoom or whatever? Yeah, Councilmember Niesel.
I also had a question about collection rates. At what point are we tracking the actual safety now that the speeding rates have gone down so much? We are still paying so much. Are we actually recouping the cost based on what we're paying out to the state with every violation?
So that was one of the driving factors in us looking at the number of sites and the number of cameras. Last year, our revenue was estimated to be, for the current fiscal year, our revenue is estimated to be about $250,000 on a $235,000 program. So we're just sort of trying to maintain some cost neutrality. Hence, if we think by moving some cameras around, a little more efficient cameras, we'll be able to maintain that cost neutrality because we still have to pay the employee that's doing it, whether they're a police officer or civilian. So that cost has to kind of get baked into the overage from the contract. So we're trying to maintain that cost neutrality.
Okay, and can we put that up on the cable TV, also the 7 sites here and citations by site? Mr. Roberts?
Well, you know what? I don't think that speeding has gone down. In fact, I think it's getting worse. And I'm not going to vote for this because I think the speed cameras are a problem. Because you think the speeding's going down, but it's really people know where the camera is, and then they slow down for 30 seconds till they get past the camera, and then the rest of the time they're doing all kinds of crazy stuff, passing people on the shoulder and all that kind of stuff, and, speeding rapidly. And I think because of the cameras, we have less actual enforcement. And when you only get a speed camera ticket, it doesn't affect there's no points on your license, there's no nothing. So it's just, okay, it's another bill I got to pay. And like I say, most of the people, they know where the camera is, so they slow down where the camera is. That's fine. But it's encouraging them in other places to go faster because they know there's no police out there looking to get them. So that's why I'm going to vote against this. I think the cameras at this point are being counterproductive. And it's just a numbers game is all it's become. And you're forgetting about all the other infractions that are going on out there. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you, thank you. And along those lines, in a general sense, with I do think that some cars are speeding or slowing down, but I'm wondering it's summer again, and just yesterday I saw some motorcycles and other vehicles going pretty fast. So do these cameras actually pick that up? And on a motorcycle, can they actually see the license plate, or is that something that doesn't usually happen?
As long as there's a tag displayed, the camera will pick up the tag.
Okay. Yes, I was going to read the sites. You want to read the sites? Or
No,
Okay,
I'd
go ahead,
like
please.
to make a motion that to authorize the city manager to execute a speed camera contract for $167,952 with Ultimate Incorporated.
Second.
Okay.
I was going to do the same.
Okay, and I'll just read the sites. The 300 block of Crescent Road eastbound is one site. The second site is 5900 block of Cherrywood Lane north, and 59 block of Cherrywood Lane south. The fourth site, 7700 Hanover Parkway east. There's another camera housing on the opposite side, 7700 Mandan Road northbound. Excuse me, it's a different one. There's a camera at 7700 block of Maryland 193 Greenbelt Road on the east side, and finally 7700 Greenbelt Road eastbound on Frankfurt Drive. Those are the 7 locations. Total citations last year were 9,747. So is there any additional discussion? Anybody online? If not, Ms. Pope, did you have anything to add?
I was going to do
and
the
make the
same
motion.
thing. Yeah.
Okay, let's go ahead and vote on the motion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay, the motion does carry. So let's see, that's going to bring us to item number 18. Is that right? And do you want to defer this to the next meeting? We actually don't have to. Do you have?
Well, I guess, do we want to have at least a brief discussion? I know it's not necessary until May 30th, but it might be worth having at least a 5-minute conversation now to give staff a little bit of direction. We can discuss it more next meeting.
Okay. Hey, I just want to point out that these are for the Maryland Municipal League, so these will be items that are brought forward before the Legislative Committee. And because of the process and the importance of being very, very focused, typically the league will only approve maybe 3, usually 3, sometimes 4 priorities. So these would be recommendations that we put forward, but they really have to have an impact statewide. So it can't just be something that is of concern of Greenbelt, because the other municipalities will not necessarily support that. That being the case, Mr. George and Mr. Samarone provided a listing of what we put forward last year, and also a couple of suggestions for this year. So things that we submitted last year, there were 3 priorities, and none of them were adopted by MML. The first had to do with the homestead tax credits. And the proposal was to sort of do away with the deadline, extending the tax. So you have to reapply for it each year. And I actually put this forward. My thinking that is, if someone qualifies for these tax credits, both for homestead but for renters also, they should get the money. They shouldn't have to reapply each year. And in fact, it would be nice if it was retroactive. The people that are under the greatest stress, seniors or folks that are going through a job transition or people having a really difficult time, they're the ones that are most likely to miss this deadline that comes up. And they even though they qualify for the program, they don't get the funding. Ms. Pope.
So just to clarify, so you want them to extend the deadline?
I want them
or
to...
you just want it annually automatically that they get this tax credit?
I'd like to see it automatically happen unless there's a change.
But what
And I'd
happens
like
if there's a change in circumstance? How are they going to know?
Well,
The person may not be eligible for this particular credit anymore. How are they going to know?
That's a good question. We'll have to work that out.
Well,
No,
we're
but
going to have to
seriously, I
work
mean,
that out
it's-
first because it's not, I mean, if somebody really needs it, then they should be
People
getting
really,
this credit.
people really need it.
Yeah, that's fine, and then they should
So
get
it's
it.
not so much renewing it automatically. It's more so retroactively. If someone has applied and, they apply and they're approved and they would have been approved in the previous year, they should get the money. They shouldn't, this deadline
Right.
shouldn't keep people from getting this tax break that they really deserve, that they need. Otherwise, they wouldn't be
No,
approved.
I can go for that. The retroactive I can go for, but the automatic renewal every year, I don't think I understand that. How that, I can't go for that. Sorry.
Retroactively, yeah.
Are you suggesting that we consider this for 2026, or were you just recapping 2025?
I'm suggesting that we consider it for 2026.
My understanding is that you don't have to reapply for the homestead tax credit. That once you've applied, you're done. But you have to apply for it or you don't get it. I didn't know that you had to reapply.
You do have to reapply, I believe.
I don't know. I don't think.
Matt,
I don't
there
think
was
I
a
qualify, so
proposal
I don't
for
really
juvenile
know.
justice reform and funding. Would anyone like to, that's something that we put forward together? Is there a reason, would you like to put that in again, or, because we're just trying to talk about this, we'll have a brief discussion when we talk about it on the 30th. It's not really due until the 30th.
I mean, that's clearly an important issue. I would like to see us consider submitting that one again.
And it's come up quite a bit in what Delegate Williams was saying, that, there are all these programs and there's simply no funding to actually administer them, to actually make sure that we are doing anything on the back end to prevent these crimes or to keep these kids out of trouble once they've gotten in trouble. So I think funding for that is essential.
Okay, but there's no funding for it.
There's never any funding
Okay.
for it.
Yeah, and this tax abatement information is something that we've asked for a number of times, just to get a heads up when tax abatements are applied for. We would like to get some notice from the comptroller, from MDOT, so that we can do our budget and have a better sense of what revenues might be at risk. That's been a request for a number of years. 2024, there it is again, better information on abatements. The digital levy books, I think we actually got that last year. Ms. Gaiman said that came through, and it's probably because we brought it up. I don't think any other municipalities really brought it up and made phone calls. And the ban on single-use plastics, you can certainly bring that up. So staff has highlighted three other ongoing concerns. One of the three was juvenile justice reform, appropriations, and support. The other two, opposing the Baltimore-Washington superconducting maglev project, and certainly bring that up, and opposition to beltway widening and toll lanes. And that's sort of a local thing. The folks in other parts of the state, it does not resonate with them in the same way. And likewise with the maglev, we bring this up every year because we are so passionate and so in tune about the damage that it will do to the city of Greenbelt. We keep bringing it up, but as a statewide initiative, it doesn't get the traction. So the legislative committee did not vote to support it. I'm just wondering, are there any new ideas, anything other council members had thought about bringing up this year? And we can talk about it some more on the 28th, finalize our
There's one
27th.
more on the list after the juvenile justice reform that was on staff's recommended list. It's down. It's regulating online streaming services for sustainable local media funding, and that one seems like, especially because we're any source of other revenue that we can get seems like a good thing to
Yeah, I think that's a good
argue
one.
for.
Now, arguably, the county just put a surcharge on streaming services, I believe, or phones, telecommunication services. But yeah, I think number 4, I would be strongly supportive of that. Councilmember McKinney?
I'm not quite sure how this fits, but I just recall from our meeting with where they were presenting the economic development plan, and we've just been talking about what's happening with Beltway Plaza, what's happening in Greenway Center. Is there a way that we can be more, to advocate more around the planning for the areas that are in our city? And I know that there's a lot of back and forth on whether or not we have the rights similar to Laurel to be able to do that. But I feel like that is, especially when we're looking at economic development issues, we need to have a stronger stance in that. And I would just raise that up as something that's not on this list that I know we've talked about, that I think continues to be a problem.
It's a good thought. It's a Prince George's County thing, though. The other counties throughout the state do have planning, and the other municipalities do, for the most part, have planning and zoning authority. Yes, Mr. Summerall.
We did have on the list last year, and we had it on our list this year. The state legislature kicked the can down the road on this topic of allowing municipalities their autonomy on zoning and land use issues by establishing the task force. Now, I am confident that I did not misspeak on the statement that they kicked the can down the road. The way they framed that conversation was that more discussion needs to be held on this topic, and the task force is to look at those issues. I think it's clear the benefit that Laura and other communities will have autonomy over zoning and land use issues, what value brings to their communities. I don't think there's any confusion about that. To put together a task force of what it means in Prince George's and Montgomery County is the issue. There's a lot of regional projects that I think the powers that be, whoever they may be, the county level, that have an interest in retaining the authority of zoning and land use. I think they would be concerned about what does it mean for the regional projects. What does a purple line look like if every municipality had to approve it?
Let go of their power, Yeah, they don't want to do that.
And actually, it's a good thing, instead of just killing the bill completely and just letting it die. Our delegates and senator had the wisdom, delegates, to actually move this forward to a commission, because they could have easily, in previous years, it just died or they haven't taken it up at all. Council member.
I would propose two items that could be possible LARs, and one would be supporting the bottle bill that did not go through last year, but I expect to see it again. That could be something that I think that has a strong possibility. And then another bill would be, this was a bill that our delegate Martinez proposed last year, and I know he's going to bring it up again, but it's taxing social media companies and using that and putting that tax in a fund for youth mental health services, because social media does have such a negative impact on youth mental health. This is sort of a way to, help kids, and because youth mental health is just so difficult to obtain, there's such a lack of resources and funding, that I know that that's something that he proposed. I know he and I were chatting, he plans to propose it again. And I think that could be really helpful, and it kind of even dovetails a bit with the, the juvenile justice reform and how there's no money for these programs. But this is another thing, like there's no money for these programs. These programs could also help those same kids, right, that veer down the wrong path because of social media, because they don't have any mental health support. So anyway, I think that could be a possible LAR as well.
Let's add those all to the list, and we'll narrow it down at the next meeting. Got to tell you, in discussions on the legislative committee around the bottle bill, unfortunately, our peers in other parts of the county were just not supportive of the idea. So I have the feeling, unfortunately, that would not make it over the line as one of MML's 2 or 3 top priorities, as much as it would be a game changer for solid waste for bottles and whatnot in the streams that we have here. Any other suggestions? Okay, well, hearing none, it's a little bit after 10. We really do need to close things out. Mayor Pro Tem, do you have a council activity update?
Really quickly, here's what happened since the last meeting. Lots of different things as usual. I would say the cinema anniversary was a really nice event. I think many of us were there. Green Man, of course, we already mentioned. I don't know if anybody else wants to bring up. And actually, I found the Reparations Commission, the virtual training with the African American Redress Network, very interesting as well. Sorry, my eye is watering. Bringing me to tears. Not really.
Yeah, a lot of things going on. The opening day for the farmers market, it was packed. There were so many people around, but for that and the Green Man Festival, it's just really exciting. And of course, the tool library was also open as well. So lots of things going on. I think there was an artful afternoon. I didn't make it over to do the spray painting over at Spring Hill Lake Center. But man, last weekend and this weekend coming up, so many things to do in Greenbelt, people doing so many different things. And, you know, as council members, it's part, you know, it's part of our responsibility really to be visible so that our residents, if they have questions or concerns, can just approach us informally. So I, for one, think it's really, really important to be out in the community and talking with folks. So I try and do as much as I can. And I know that that's true for council members. So one thing that I forgot to do, Chief Bowers left, but it is it's National Police Week this week around the country, and I know that one of our officers participated in a bike ride from Philadelphia to D.C. to sort of commemorate that occasion, and also on social media, our police department posted that this first couple of days, just remembering Corporal Peters, who was actually killed in the commerce of her duties several years ago. So there are just so many different occasions to commemorate, but this Police Week is one that's very, very important. So if there are no other discussion items, nothing else to do on the agenda, I would accept a motion. Yes, I know, but would someone like to make a motion?
Well, I think it's worth noting first that we had on the agenda a closed session, but we are not able to do that because our legal counsel is not available. So I just want to publicly state that was on the agenda, but that will have to be rescheduled.
Is there a motion to
Move
adjourn?
to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Wait, hold on.
Ms. Anderson, the meeting's discussion still needs to, the meeting schedule needs to be voted on?
Oh, because it wasn't on the consent agenda.
Oh, okay. Is there any discussion?
We're just looking at the meetings.
The meetings, we schedule a few work sessions.
Could you bring that up on the screen?
Ms. Anderson may have it too, but I have it open.
Okay, I see it. So coming up on Wednesday, we have a work session. We'll be talking with the recognition group applicants. Actually, it's contribution groups. Then on Monday, the 19th, contribution groups, part 2. We've actually divided them on 2 separate nights. So we'll be bringing in the second group. There is an advisory board interview also on Wednesday at 7:10 p.m. I believe that's going to be virtual, but since it's right before the work session, I'll probably be in person. The ACE Student Awards are coming up on the 21st at 7:30 p.m. here in Council Chambers. There's no meeting on Memorial Day, but we will be having the Memorial Day commemoration that day on Memorial Day at 11 o'clock out front on Center Way. Final budget review. There's a meeting on the 27th at 7:30. Then the final budget review work session is going to be on the 28th. And there's another meeting coming up on Monday, June the 2nd, for the budget adoption. After that, a work session on June the 4th at 7:30 p.m. We'll be talking about local legislative priorities. And we're having a little retreat to discuss those. And on Monday the 9th at 7:30 p.m., the advisory board chairs will be joining us for a stakeholder meeting discussing what's going on in their advisory boards and best practices, sharing that information. On the 6th, June the 11th at 7:30, We're talking about maybe bringing in Beltway Plaza, maybe also doing some of the economic development work. Regular meeting on June the 16th at 7:30 p.m. Then on the 18th, we have a work session with the Board of Elections. And after that, on June 22nd, the Maryland Municipal League Conference is taking place in Ocean City from the 22nd through the 25th. Then there is a work session finishing up. There was a lot to cover on economic development. We didn't even get a quarter of the way through the discussion. So that's also down for the 30th. So that's the schedule.
I move to approve this meeting schedule, the meeting schedule as presented.
I'll second that. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.